Welcome to another episode of the Fit Frequency. Today I got a very special guest, Kyle Snyder. Some people know of Kyle, don't actually know you, but the strong dude that comes in and works really hard and is for all intents and purposes like the silent silverback. You're incredibly strong, and you come in, you work, and then you GTFO. So
that's a hell of a description.
Yeah. So Kyle, give us the rundown. Give us like an elevator pitch or a long version. Who are you and what are you doing here?
So started coming to Fit Factory right about the same time that you did. Got into CrossFit. So that's 7-8 years almost at this point. Prior to that, I played collegiate sports, football, and semi-professional rodeo, and before that, just your typical high school athlete with kind of a no direction weightlifting program. Just do whatever everyone else is doing and kind of follow the leader type thing. Started coming here. I do CrossFit very sparingly. Most of the time it's just strength training in the back, staying out of everybody else's way.
So 7 to 8 years of working out here, whether it's like in this actual building or over in what I call the shoebox, DFF 1.0. You've been doing this a while.
Been after it for a while, yeah. I would say the things that I'm doing currently with my strength training, probably 2 to 2.5 years, consistently staying with the same type of programming, the same type of lifting, same type of dietary planning.
So a lot of consistency. I was actually chatting with Ryan St. John. He just came to the noon class, and looking at we were kind of chatting a little bit about like the sitting down, what we're going to talk about and everything. And he was just like, I saw pictures of Kyle like from a long time ago, and then it's just surprising because you were, I don't want to say a different person. You looked very different. You didn't have the beard. You didn't have like
it was very different.
Yeah, you were not as, I'll just say, massive as you are now, but still incredibly athletic. So in some regard, there's always been physical work or fitness.
I've always been doing something. Yes. Annie likes to joke, my wife, that when we first met that I was Captain America before the super serum. I know. It's so true. Was athletic. I mean, 175 pounds, nothing spectacular, but could come in here and move weight and do the movements and all that kind of a thing. Currently, I'm between like 205 and 210. So put on quite a bit of size, quite a bit of strength in the last couple years.
Yeah, and that's not possible in a healthy way. That's not possible in like a 3-month period to gain 35 to 40 pounds, or the weight that you can push around. One thing that we've seen, since the early days of working out in my garage, like leading up to your wedding, is like you've gotten incredibly strong. Your mobility has also increased tremendously, specifically with your squats. Another thing that's not going to come overnight. There's not a magical stretch. There's not necessarily a magic pill that will get you to where you are. It's just consistent hard work.
Yeah, there's been no magic supplement. There's no incredible stack of 10 or 15 things that I'm taking or doing. It's very basic, and it has to be. I have to have it be as basic as possible so I can maintain consistency with it. With the busy life of being a dad of 2 kids who are now starting into school in their own sports and everything, and you're going in 5 different directions every day. So keeping it simple is the biggest part of allowing me to stay consistent with what I'm doing in the gym when I come to work out, when I sit down to eat a meal. And that's really the biggest secret, if I had one, was keeping everything as simple as possible.
simple and consistent. And you kind of touched on my next, I guess, question or topic. So we can open up that can of worms. Like, you're more or less a normal dude. You've got a family. You've got a job. You don't live here at the gym. Right?
No, I don't.
So, and you're still able to do this. You make time for it, and then when you're here, we were talking just before we hit record. When you're here, you show up and you put in the work. There's a lot of intention.
Yeah. So typically, I come in the afternoons after work. Before I have to pick up the kids from daycare or practice or whatever, and it's really just 1 hour ish, give or take 10 or 15 minutes of just coming in and giving 100% intensity to whatever I'm doing that day. I had surgery 5 years ago on my shoulder, which kind of reset any progress that I had made up to that point, where I had to start over with a lot of the lifts, a lot of the things that I was doing, a lot of the gains that I had made felt like it went away, and I had to start from ground zero. Like 90 pounds on the bench, starting from that point. It was taking tiny steps every day. So knowing that I wasn't going to get to 185 or 225 or 315 on a bench in just a few weeks or months, that it was going to take a really long time to get to that point that I wanted to be at, to get to those weights, to move the bar the way I wanted to move, to be able, like you said, to have the flexibility that I wanted to have on some of my lifts. So it was really just starting over and starting with the very basic movements of fixing form, making sure I'm doing everything right, and then just 5 pounds at a time over weeks and months. And here we are 5 years later, and I'm 20 pounds heavier, and the strength numbers are so much higher than what they were starting at that point. But it was tiny steps every day, every week that really add up.
Yeah, that's the more talk about consistency. I think a lot of people are hoping that the intensity and the intention that you're talking about will almost like it's the fast track, but not necessarily. What we need is a high level of intensity and a lot of intention, more consistency, and then also like trusting the plan, being realistic with it. You're not going to go from, like what you said, struggling to bench press a bar to hitting 315 in 2 weeks. Whether it's trusting a linear progression with a little bit of wiggle room, or trusting that your coaches or whoever is designing the program knows like this is a sustainable and a realistic pace. And then with your shoulder surgery, this is something that I try to talk to a lot of people. If there is kind of a limitation or anything, that the muscles and the joints, they're going to continue to be used, or at least need to be used outside of the gym. So what we don't want to do is overdo it, try to hit those big numbers before you're ready for it, and then you have that big setback. Then suddenly, like, you're getting in trouble at work because you're not able to do X, Y, and Z. Like, it's...
And it has to be in small steps. The only way to get big numbers is in baby steps. Like I said, just trying to do 5 pounds more next week than you were able to last week, trying to do 1 or 2 more reps of a movement with the same weight, just trying to do a little bit more than you could the last time you did it is how you make that progression. And if you can do that every time you come in here, day after day, week after week, and you start stacking up those years, you look back one day and you're like, whoa, I came a really long way.
Yeah, a little bit of like the snowball effect. Like those little tiny wins, they stack on top of each other, and then they compound over time. You suddenly turn around, you almost don't recognize yourself.
Right.
Yeah, better every day. I wish I could pan the camera over to the a little bit better every single day. So let's kind of dive into your history a little bit. So high school and collegiate athletics. You mentioned kind of having like a generic training program. we've got some kids in here that, especially over this summer, I worked with a couple athletes, and their parents said like they look night and day different, especially in the shoulders. And now they're going into practice for football or going into basketball camps and all that kind of stuff. They just have this, like, maybe a little bit more mental confidence, but just the agility, the athleticism. What do you think about, having like a general strength and conditioning program to like add on to what kids are doing? Like, what is your opinion on 18 and under minors training in a gym like this?
So the first thing that I would tell parents or teenagers is social media makes it feel like you have to complicate it. Like you have to do so many different things. You have to do some type of explosive band work. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to have all this specialized equipment and trainers for everything that I'm trying to do. And for kids, you don't. For kids, it's, again, very basic. Their bodies are still developing. Their muscles and joints are still developing. Tendons and ligaments are still developing. And to specialize in one thing or one type of movement can be very dangerous for a student athlete to increase the risk of injury and just not develop the parts of their body that they could be developing by doing a variety of movements, but keeping them very basic, right? Starting out with body weight, push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups and that kind of thing, and air squats, just making sure that they have proper form and technique to know how to move their bodies before you start adding weight into it and you start to take those leaps. One of the things that college coaches look for in younger student athletes are multi-sport athletes, because they know they're getting a variety of movements. They're working on footwork in basketball. They're doing strength work in wrestling. They know how to use their body to create leverage. Track, where you're getting footwork and agility work and explosive running. Cross country and distance running, to have the cardio endurance. Swimming, just to have such a huge variety of ways that you're learning to move your body and develop your body, so that there's a solid foundation for a strength coach to build on when you move into a good high school or collegiate program, is something that coaches are trying to instill in their younger athletes.
So a little bit of everything when it comes to like the sports side. Mm-hmm. But then I love what you said, like just focusing on the basics. And that's something that we have with our kids program here. Is it's more or less a bunch of games. Right. And we teach the kids, like, this is how we want you to squat. Like, hey, this is what we want you to do for a lunge. This is where your elbows should be when you're pushing yourself up off the ground. We find a way to like integrate that into a game. And then with the older kids, it's like, okay, how do we get into these body positions? Because last year when we worked with you, your femur was about half as long. Like, you were a very different size. So teaching them again, like, okay, here's how we get into these proper positions to, move your body, move a little bit of extra weight, a little less of like games and all that kind of stuff, a lot more focus on like form and technique and all that kind of stuff. And then like I mentioned, we've seen just the kids that then jump into their sports. Like if he's an offensive lineman, like he's just pancakes all day, just putting people on their back. The kid that I was working with this summer, he wants to dunk a basketball before he's in high school, and we went from barely being able to touch the backboard to touching the rim, and just kind of like working with those basics, being a little explosive, figuring out how in the heck to use your body that's changing so much. I'm going off on a tangent. No, but you brought up something really important there. Again, tying this back to consistency. If there's an athlete or a parent who is only getting their information off of whatever Instagram account or YouTube channel or whatever it might be, it's very easy to start into something, not see immediate progress, and then jump into something else. And it's so important to just pick something that is basic and stick with it for a while, like 8 to 10 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years. Get into something and give your body a chance
to adapt to what you're putting it through and then grow into those movements, whether it's strength training or flexibility or your sport specific kind of movement, or if you're trying to hit a baseball or kick a soccer ball or whatever it might be, just letting your body grow into doing that through consistent repetition is probably the most important thing for a young athlete to do, is to pick something and stay with it.
Yeah, and I would say, like, for athletes, yes, absolutely, like, not giving up on the sport where they're not the starter,
right?
And it's something else that we've got to hammer in even into the brains of the adults. If somebody's overweight and they've got to make a lifestyle change, the in-body scan shows certain numbers. Like, guess what? It did not take you 2 weeks to get there. It took you 10 to 20 years to get there. So this is something that we're going to have to stick with, even when it's hard, like really difficult in the first couple weeks. We gotta see this through.
And what takes time to see is that progression is not perfectly linear, right? If you're looking at the muscle gain that I want to make, you're not going to start here and every time you check it's going to go up a little bit. Or if I want to lose body fat percentage, I'm going to start here and every single time it's going to go down. It looks more like the stock market, where there's a little up and then a drop, and then maybe some up and a drop, and then you have to look at the entire progress over time to say, okay, wow, I did make a lot of good progress. There were some blips in there where it didn't go my way, but I stayed with it. And looking back over the course of what do you guys do? The body scans every 2 to 3 months maybe, or sooner depending on the individual, but looking at several scans over the course of a year or two to see that progress instead of just looking at the last scan to this scan.
Yeah. When people start, when they get into our CrossFit program, we do it at the start, we do it at 3 months, 6 months, and then we do 2 every year. We like to get a lot of data points right out of the gate, and then from there, we purposely like customize the chart that gets printed out along the bottom, so we do see the graph, and we will, we'll see the ups and downs, but it's important to see like the big picture.
Yes.
Not 1 versus 2, but like 1 versus 15.
And you can only put that picture together by being consistent with showing up here, whether it's class or doing your own weightlifting or something in your garage or at home or whatever, just doing it as often as life allows you to do it, trying to be as consistent with this as you can, and giving yourself a chance to build that bigger picture.
Yeah. Let's switch gears. I feel like that was very serious. That was very serious for the last, 18 minutes. So we're our classes, we're wrapping up an Olympic weightlifting cycle. We've been, doing a lot of cleans, a lot of clean and jerks, a lot of snatches all summer. We're about to switch gears to deadlift and then bench press and strict press. We're going to alternate those every week. Can you accurately paint a picture for us of why deadlift and bench is the best combination known to man?
I just right off the top of my head, it's the caveman lift, right? It's just, I'm going to pick this weight up, or I'm going to move that weight from A to B, and I'm going to try to do more than everybody else around me. It's a reason why deadlift is featured at the Arnold, and why that's like the standard of strength all around the world from one sport to the next. It's also like the compound lifts do everything. It takes every part of your body to pick up a barbell off the ground. It takes your spine and your hips and your ankles and your knees and your shoulders to get a squat to or below parallel. For bench press, it takes your shoulders, your back, your legs driving into the ground to move that weight. It's so important to have that because it does everything. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm just going to do that's just a chest day thing." Yeah, but it does a lot more than that. Same thing for deadlift, lower body pull, but it works every part of your body in some capacity. And if you do have a glaring weakness, it's going to point it out to you really quickly.
Yeah, that's so. A lot of people When they get, I would say we get past that 3-month mark, we start to get into like the beginner gains start to level off, but now there's some real interest in something. And when it's deadlifts, why do my abs hurt? Why are my armpits sore after deadlift day? Well, the deadlift is a total body movement, and your abs are sore because you are bracing hard. You like your legs have reached their potential, and you are absolutely bracing the right way. You're squeezing your lats to make sure that your back is staying straight. You're doing it right. If everything is sore the next day, like you had mentioned, like wrists all the way up through the arms, down through your calves, like if everything's sore, you did deadlifts right.
Yeah, and every basic compound lift is also a core exercise, or it should be.
It should be.
Because if it's not, then you're not doing it right, and you're going to get hurt.
Yes. So with that, I love that you brought that up. I know that we're not testing our absolute 1 rep max deadlift in the cycle, and it is because we want to get people to hang up their ego. Belts. Let's talk about belts, because you had mentioned everything can be a core exercise if you do it right. I've got my opinion. I'm going to let you go first. When is a belt appropriate?
I wear a belt because it makes me feel safer when I'm doing a compound lift. It gives me a sense of rigidity in my core when I'm lifting or doing anything where I'm really trying to push the weight. If I'm going super heavy, it makes me feel better. I don't know if it does a lot for me because I'm not moving 800 pounds on a deadlift. But placebo effect, it just makes me make sure I'm doing everything else right, and then that on top of it.
Yeah, super heavy. So, like, my opinion, I've got 2 situations when somebody's brand new and they're just like, I don't think I'm bracing right. I'll have them put on a belt, and it's kind of loose so that you can get a finger or whatever in like by your stomach, and then I'm like, okay, squeeze your abs and then press into it. Do you feel it on your back? And they're like, oh, that's what bracing is.
Yeah.
Cool. Take it off. Like, get rid of it. And then 3 reps or less. If you are working on 80% or higher and you're doing 3 reps at a time of a deadlift or a back squat or something like that, and it's heavy enough that there might be other things happening in your workout, okay, we're going to just add that extra little safety measure there. Or you can consider it like, we're going to make sure that you're performing at your best, so you're going to have that little extra support. When I see a work, like in CrossFit, we do a lot of high rep, low weight Olympic lifts and deadlifts and that kind of stuff. When I see a set of 20 to 30 deadlifts at a super lightweight,
I'm not using a belt.
Somebody wraps up, like,
no.
What are we doing here? I think it becomes a crutch.
I use a belt if I'm unsure that I'm going to be able to move the weight. Like you said, if it's going to be a true 1 to 2 or 3 rep max, if there's a chance that I don't get it or I haven't before, we're trying something new, then yeah, let me belt up. I'm 36 and I still got to go to work the next day, and I can't be laid up for whatever reason. But if it's a built workout where it's going to be a lot of reps, if you need a belt to do a lot of reps, then you're not.
You shouldn't be doing.
You shouldn't be doing the weight.
We need to take some weight off. Yep. Yeah. I think that's one of the things where CrossFit way back in the day got a bad rap, when everybody has all of their accessories and they got it, like, they're not able to squat unless they have their knee sleeves. They're not able to hinge unless they've got their belt. I am guilty of this. I've fallen into the trap of not being able to do kipping pull-ups without my grips. I used to be a no grip guy, and of course now I got them pretty much in my back pocket every day. There's another question for you. Accessories. What accessories, aside from a belt, do you have, do you like, do you think are a complete waste of money?
shoes, I think, are super important. Having the right footwear for whatever you're going to be doing in here. If you're doing lots of running, don't wear your lifters. If you're going to be moving heavy weight, maybe not wear a squishy running shoe or something like that. The shoe game, I think, is worth the money to spend on it. Grips, I don't do enough CrossFit to know if I would benefit from it. I know that I'm not going to like rip my hands on a Monday and have to come back on a rig 2 or 3 days later and have to deal with that. So, I just go for it with a little bit of chalk if I'm going to do any type of rig work.
And most of the time, I'd say most of the time your stuff is strict anyway. So I feel like if there's something with kipping pull-ups, I'll likely see you do strict, even if it's like a strict butterfly pull-up. Like you've got the strength in your forearms and in your lats.
Yeah.
I don't think you got to worry about grips.
I don't do enough of it to my form's not that good, so I'm not going to try something that I'm not comfortable with. I'm just going to do it the way I know how and push through it as best I can. Accessories that don't work, I'm not. This is a little bit off topic, but a lot of the stranger supplements I don't get into. In terms of like a gym accessory, protein and creatine, and that's about it. I don't stray beyond that. I'm not super big into the amino acids or everything else. If I just keep it simple. And in the gym, I don't use wrist wraps. I don't use a slingshot on bench or any of that stuff, just for the sake of moving more weight and saying that I did. It's pretty much just a belt. It's knee sleeves if I'm going super heavy on squat and the right shoes, and that's it.
I think I remember having a slingshot in my garage, and I think you were the one that pushed back a little bit.
Yeah.
You're like, why do you have that? I couldn't tell you the last time I used it. It felt super silly doing it in the moment, but I was that guy. I would bench press like this. And the slingshot absolutely taught me to like keep my elbows in.
The form.
But man, I remember you were like, this doesn't count. You're not benching 185 with that thing on. And I was like, I know, but I got to keep my elbows in. Now, if somebody tries to throw a slingshot on in class, like, what are we doing here?
I mean, yeah, it's fun to move a ton of weight and to just say you did, but
did you?
But you didn't.
You didn't.
No, you didn't.
Barbells or dumbbells?
Both.
You don't have a preference of one over the other?
If I had to pick one, barbell.
Okay. Any particular reason?
I like the rigidity of a barbell. I've had shoulder issues. Working through one now. It's it just, for me, it's a feeling of stability that I don't always get if I'm doing heavy dumbbells. I like using dumbbells to switch up from the heavy barbell compound movements. So incline dumbbell press is great. Dumbbell RDLs is fantastic. Any type of row. So I think it absolutely has its place. If I'm going to do something super heavy, I just want to do it on an old rusty barbell.
So if you had like somebody gave you a gift card and you're like, you have to buy one thing for the rest of your life, barbell and plates or a set of dumbbells, you would go barbell?
Barbell and plates.
Barbell.
Yeah.
I think I would have to agree with you because you do get kind of limited to a point with like you can get real creative. I like to use landmines with a lot of my personal training clients. Sometimes dumbbells is just like, okay, we move these in all the different planes. I can't stack up dumbbells and do something weird like you can stack a barbell on its side and completely change the movement. What would be your, I'd say, go-to body weight exercise, and then a body weight exercise that if you never did it again, you'd be happy with that?
My go-to is going to be Murph. Pull up, push up, air squat for body weight. If I never want to do one again, I hate burpees so much.
I knew you were going to say that.
And box jumps. I hate box jumps. My shins can agree with all the scars on them. If I never do another box jump again, I'll be fine with that.
So let's talk about so people know Kyle. They know Kyle as like you come in, you lift a lot of weight. Like I said, you're the silent silverback. And wait a minute. Today is rowing and bench press. And Kyle's jumping into class, for example.
Oh, yeah. I've very much handpicked the classes I'm going to do.
Yeah. But it's almost always a guarantee that you squeeze into the open workouts. And so with what you just said, I've got to ask, man, what did you think about that, what was it, burpee thruster thing that we did? We were side by side, and you groaned about it the whole time after having a couple months out of the open.
Well, again, because I'm not consistent with doing CrossFit type work or cardio in general, it was terrible. Anything beyond 3 or 4 minutes of any workout is going to suck for me, and I hate it. So a 20-minute AMRAP is my worst nightmare. That is my arch enemy of anything in the gym. Having to do something strenuous for more than a few minutes. I am not good at it.
And it was a lot of burpees and very lightweight barbell. So neither of which are your strengths.
No, that was nothing that I trained for.
I will say, though, it was a couple years ago. There was an open workout with rowing, which you're good at. You've got strong lats, strong legs, deadlifts. You're good at. It was a lot if you'd gotten a lot of rounds in. But again, you're good at picking up a moderate to a heavy barbell. And then there was double unders. And I think everybody's jaw hit the floor when you started working out. So tell us about that, the process before leading up to the workout and then the workout.
I just watched some YouTube videos and learned how to do it the night before.
So you did everything except what we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes.
Talking about, yeah, because I know I'm not going to do double unders if I don't have to, and I had to, so I had to figure it out real quick. My wife and Dan, 20 minutes before the workout started, were giving me some pointers in the annex, and I was able to get through the workout. It wasn't pretty, but it was completed.
That was an impressive feat. Everybody knew, like, oh, you're going to be off the rower in no time. You're going to get through the deadlifts. And then you picked up the jump rope and you got some double unders. And everybody's like, okay.
Yeah, cool. That was just me relying on athleticism.
I was going to say, let's chalk that up to your consistency of being an athletic person.
And I didn't want to look dumb in front of the entire gym. So I was very motivated by that to learn quickly.
A lot of intensity with your intention to learn that stuff. Awesome. So what kind of goals do you have? You mentioned you're on the comeback from a little bit of upper body thing. What kind of goals do you have for the rest of 2026 or maybe beyond, looking into 27 since you have that setback? What's in the future for Kyle?
So my upper body thing was a herniated disc in my neck that required surgery and a plate put in between my C5 and C6 vertebrae. A lot of nerve damage was done, so I can't move the weight that I've historically been able to move, which is super frustrating. And I just keep coming back to, okay, I got to take this in baby steps. I've been here before, 5 years ago. I'm going to hate every second of it, but it's the only way to get back to what I was prior to that injury. So my goal for this year is just to be able to do the things that I was able to beforehand. 1 pull-up is my goal, unassisted with a band, because I can't do one. So I'm not trying to gear up for Murph next year and do 100 of them. My goal right now is just 1. And to get 1, I've got to do my shoulder mobility work. I've got to do tiny strength exercises to get my arm working again. It's stepping backwards, putting my ego down with the things that I used to be able to do, and just starting over with the little things that I know I have to have in place to start to build back to what I was capable of doing beforehand. So my goals right now are just to be able to do the things that I was able to do at the start of the year.
That's awesome. And there's no like definitive endpoint. You just know that like it's it's going to be a while.
It's from what Brett at Athletico, my physical trainer and the surgical team, told me. It's going to be 6 to 18 months, and somewhere in there I can hope to expect to be back to what I was previously. So it's going to be a long time, and it's going to take a lot of consistency of doing the little things every day to hopefully see those big gains in the long run.
I like it. More consistency.
Yeah, I'm living it right now.
Yeah, I love it. Final question, probably the most important question. This will probably decide whether or not this gets even published. DC or Marvel?
Oh, DC. You can Marvel all you want. DC has the best cast of villains. They've got the best superheroes. They were first. Now, in terms of movies, Marvel has crushed DC.
Maybe there's a distribution error somewhere in getting those stories out. But man,
DC crushes Marvel.
I watched the new Spider-Man. I watched it with the girls. They loved it, and I was like, well, like, where do we go from here? We learned about Superman. He did his thing, and then it was like, cool, see you later. Maybe that's what gets me with all the Marvel movies is like the movie's over, but then you're like, wait a minute, what happened to this part? And then there's like 3 more movies that are going to address that.
There's a lot of tie-ins. Now, I collect comic books, right? The movies are a whole different thing for me.
Yeah.
So in terms of the books, it's DC. I got to stay with DC.
Okay.
All the way.
I couldn't tell you the last time I picked up an actual comic. I did read some comics when I was really, really, really young, and then I don't know what happened. So if you had to get into a superhero mindset, who would you be when you're in here?
All right, I'm going to switch this and go with Marvel, and I'm going to say Daredevil and Punisher.
Oh, man. Okay. Elaborate.
Daredevil with the athleticism and the intention behind what he does, and Punisher with the intensity. Just show up and be a psychopath.
Okay.
With the barbell or the dumbbell that you're trying to move. Don't just come in here like a crazy person.
Yes. Okay. I like it. Very cool. I was really hoping that you would say Batman, and then I'd be like, oh, thank goodness. Because that's the one DC guy that I kind of know and understand. Awesome. Well, Kyle, I think that about wraps it up. I appreciate you sitting down and chit-chatting about all this stuff. Do you have a workout plan today?
Workout plan today is come in and do more physical therapy work on my shoulder.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I will let you get after it. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks,
if you really like this episode, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, review, all that kind of stuff. Find us on social media. And if you got requests for future topics or interviews, let us know at Delaware Fit Factory. Make sure that you eat better, sleep better, and train better so you can be better every day. Catch you in the next one.